Well, welcome to West Country Wanderings. Today we're in the city of Bristol. It's a little bit of a different video. Well, all my videos are a little bit different, hopefully. Give you a bit of variety on the channel. No, we're not doing canals or railways, indeed a long walk today. First of all, just to tell you about how I got here. So I got here in Bristol via a new railway service, only one train a week. It's a through service from Cheltenham Spa to Bristol. Nothing strange about that, you might think, but it goes via the Golden Valley line. So I got on the station's on the Golden Valley line, and it goes to Swindon, and then it goes the other way to Bristol. I think it confuses a little people because they're expecting it to go on to London. But yeah, normal 5-car Hitachi IET. It wasn't that busy as well, so it's great. So got on my local station and arrived here in Bristol. About an hour and 15 minutes wait without having to change or drive to Cammon Dursley station, which is what I normally do. Now, the station, Temple Meads. How did it get its name Temple and this part of Bristol called Temple? Well, it's because of this. Now, I only just found this. I didn't even know it was here. I saw some roses. There's a rose garden over there. We'll have a look at that in a moment. And this area was called Temple because of this church. Temple Church was built around 1140 by the Knights Templar. Wow, isn't that incredible? Sadly, it was bombed by the Germans in the Second World War. So no, as you can see there's no roof on it. But it's open daily. Looked after by English Heritage, open daily between 10 AM and 4 PM, and there's some beautiful gardens there. So it's on an alternative route. Normally I walk into Bristol, like the harbour area, via St Mary, Redcliffe, that area, if you know where I mean, but I've decided this way to come a slightly different route, and we'll be going over Bristol Bridge shortly, heading into Corn Street, which is where most of my video will be here today in Bristol. But I thought I'd just show you around here first, just to have a look here, because I've never been in here. And it's amazing to see this right in the heart of Bristol, and it's very quiet. So obviously it's a main thoroughfare there, people walking out of the station into the heart of the old part of the city. But here it's all peace and quiet while there's lots of building work going on out there. Let's have a better look around. Now, as this informative panel tells us, the life of this medieval church started life as a round church, and there's a plan there of what it may have looked like. So you had a rotunda or a nave in the centre, chancel and a porch there. So there's only a dozen round churches ever built in England, and this one here, Temple Church in London, gives you an indication of what it may have appeared like here in the city of Bristol. So yeah, you can see there, mid-12th century. Later on you had the parish church, and this was built around the 14th century, which are the surviving walls that you see here today, with the vestry added on in the 20th century and the tower there added on in the 15th century. The interesting thing about the tower, we look down here, is that at one time it started to lean. Unfortunately, the foundations were too shallow and the soft ground was not strong enough. And in the 1450s they had to kind of correct it. So yeah, they were trying to do that to correct it, but as you can see, it still had that significant lean on it. And when the Templar order was closed down in the 1310s, the parishioners, the Weavers' Guild, and the new owners, they were the Hospitaliers, began to enlarge the church. Over the course of the 14th century, the small round church was built as an impressive but more conventional rectangular church, and it was actually one of the largest churches here in the city of Bristol. And you can see there the substantial columns that would have supported the roof of this magnificent church here in Temple in Bristol. Now let's just go through that side there, over there. Before I do that though, just show you this part here of the church. So we're in this centre aisle now, and you can see there that obviously they've had to restructure the walls on this side to prevent them collapsing after the bombing. And here we're looking directly out to where the altar once would have been. And from here you get an amazing perspective of Temple Church and the Temple Gardens with all the amazing roses there. And that tower that once does, well, now it has a bit of a lean, but once had much more of a significant lean because of the problems with the foundations. Nice bird song here as well. There's a little space there, which I think was where the vestry was I showed on the diagram earlier, built in the 12th century, 20th century should I say, but no cover of it remains. Just have a quick look at that before we continue on into the heart of Bristol. So just to get bearings, the altar would have been the other side of there, and you have some gravestones around this area. This one is dated 1824, and I'm not sure if that bit was the vestry bit, because that does look indeed newer, so that may have been early 20th century, used for, well, basically for the vicar of the parish and or parish affairs in there, but no longer used now and obviously all locked up. But it's a really fascinating place here. Some interesting bits of architecture just noticed. I think this bit would have been done in the 14th century, so let's just have a look at this. I don't want to fall down this very deep gully down here, because that's very steep indeed, but yeah, you can see that there. Wonderful designs on the edge there. So I'm going to tear myself away from Temple Church here while we walk past the Roses, and we're going to head over towards Corn Street. Now, Corn Street is one of 4 central streets. I can't remember the name, sorry, one of 4, so it's the 4th one, but formed the key medieval cross, which was the heart of the medieval town of Bristol, long before it built up with all the trade from the West Indies, other places, and sadly, of course, slave trade area as well. But that was where the heart of it was, and that's where we're walking to now, because something is going to be happening there. I won't tell you too much about it. Keep watching the video for that, and well, hopefully. So I need to go over Bristol Bridge to get into that part of Bristol, so see you over there shortly. Well, I'm currently in Wine Street, looking towards Corn Street. This over here is the High Street, down here in Bristol. And to the right of Corn Street is Broad Street, which is just down there. Now, this location here is historically important to the city of Bristol, but I think it's missed by most people. Let's have a look from the other side. So we got Vine Street here, running along there, which takes you to Broadmead and Cabot Circus, St Paul's that. To the right of that, you've got Castle Park. That's where we are here in Bristol. This is the old town part of Bristol. And therein lies the clue, because here, at the junction of Corn Street, Vine Street, High Street and Broad Street, was the historical heart, the original cross, if you like, of the centre of medieval Bristol. Today, Broad Street is home to, well, most famously, probably the Grand Hotel, and also the side entrance to the registry office. On the corner of Corn Street there was once Joseph Cottle's bookshop, publisher, and he also was a poet, first a tip publisher, Coleridge, Southey, Lamb and Wordsworth, right on this spot here. So we're now looking at down Corn Street. The noise behind me is actually a wedding taking place outside the registry office. Now, this incredible building here was originally the Bush coaching in. This building you see now was built in 1857, but the previous building was used in, or mentioned in, Charles Dickens's Pickwick Papers. It was also where the Bristol and West Building Society, yes, I remember that, that was set up here in 1850. Let's say this one was built in 1857. Now, running alongside the Exchange, more about which in a moment, is this, which is All Saints Lane. I love these little lanes. And here is All Saints Church, although I don't think it's currently in use as a church. Now, this incredible building is the Exchange, or the Corn Exchange, built in 1741, or between 1741 and 1743 by John Wood the Elder. Yes, him most famously of the circus, of course, in nearby City of Bath. It is an incredible building and such an important one here in the City of Bristol. Now, Corn Street, which this sits on, was thought to get its name from, you guessed it, trading and selling in corn. And buying and selling things still happens here today at St Nicholas Markets, or affectionately known as St Nick's. So we're going to go in there and have a look around, and I'm going to take some photographs and some video before we meet some other YouTubers for the collab. Now, this is one of 4 nails here, which are used for trading, to resemble craft tables actually designed. They're much older than the exchange, and so they're actually moved here from a lane that no longer exists, which was called Merchants' Tollsy by the aforementioned All Saints Church there. And they're all of different design because they date back to Elizabethan times. Now, it's often said that these were the origins of the name, the nail on the head, as in completing a deal, broking deal, but that's now thought to be incorrect. So here we are at the exchange. Welcome to the exchange. So it's in a Regency Palladial style. This part of the market actually takes you downstairs, so let's have a look down here. So I'm currently in Small Street here in Bristol, making my way back into Corn Street, which is really, really busy. But we're going to be meeting up at the commercial rooms, which I said earlier on was the Wetherspoon. I say we? Well, yes, some other YouTubers. Should be a lady called Nicola, who runs a channel called Nicola Travels. She's based here in the City of Bristol, lived in and around here, and has done lots of videos from here, but also from Italy as well, where she's been in other places as well. Been meeting up with Martin as well, Martin Pope, who I've mentioned many times before. We met him when I was in Wales doing a collab with Louise. That was probably, about 18 months ago now, but I've never actually done a collab with him, so I'm excited to do that. This, by the way, is the Crown Court here in Bristol. And also be meeting up with Louise from Southwest Sundays. I've been assured they all have arrived here in the City of Bristol, so all we need to do now is go into the commercial rooms and meet up with them.
So we now find ourselves in the heart of the old town of Bristol, at a crossroads where Corn Street meets Broad Street meets High Street meets Wine Street. The other side of the junction today, you'll find Castle Park. However, had you been standing in this point of the city up until 24th of November 1940, the view would have looked quite different. There we go. By the way, there's some beautiful YouTubers with us today, so I hope no one minds. You're not going to be broadcast on, I don't know, reluctant. So yes, if you had been standing here up until the 24th of November 1940, 6 p.m. to be precise, the view across the street would have looked very different. You would have been faced with this wonderful timber frame building known as our Dutch house. Iconic structure from Bristol's past. Few people realise just how densely packed what is now Castle Park used to be with buildings, however. You would have found the high street here running up to our Dutch house on the corner, packed full of pub shops and restaurants. You'd have found Wine Street stretching behind with huge department stores and theatres. You'd have found Dolphin Street heading in from the north, Bridge Street along the waterfront. You'd have found Castle Street, the main shopping street in the city, cutting straight through the middle. You would have found 5 theatres, 1 hospital and a high school, all within what is now Castle Park, all now gone, bar the ruins of St Peter's Church and Laporte Church. And they're made out of big blocks of stone and everything else is wooden, right? But yes, a devastating raid which changed the face of the city forever. So this, unfortunately, would have been the view which presented itself to you the morning after. Our poor Dutch house looking a mess. This is the view, believe it or not, looking down Wine Street behind me right now, showing how different the pre-war architecture once looked. Take note also of the Jones's department store sign here on the corner. Jones's was a huge store right at this end of Wine Street, and I'll mention it in a moment's time. Here we have that same view the morning after. Utter devastation stretching half a square mile towards Old Market. And whilst this image is in front of you, it's worth swiveling around for a moment and just observing the beautiful Victorian and Georgian architecture which survived that night. It is miraculous, as if a force field ran up High Street, down Broad Street, protecting these buildings further west. We are about to head beneath the building. We are not about to enter a National Trust property. It's a working council building, so although that staircase and corridor were nice and clear half an hour ago, I've got no idea who might be counted down there. So we're trying to stick together. Carl and the YouTube gang are going to bring up the rear, but let's try and stay together unless you want to spend the night with Margaret, which is quite an experience, I can tell you. But let's head down and see. And when we pass through that door, you will notice green metal blast doors. I'll just move down a little bit more. You'll notice green metal blast doors, which date back to the 1940s. Some still having ARP posters in place. You'll also notice 1940s brickwork, known as armour brickwork, adding further reinforcement to doorways, archways, making that the safest part of the basement where you would have wanted to find the high explosive bombs above. However, that's also where you would have found the ladies and gents toilets, which would have just been a line of buckets, not very pleasant, and with up to 200 people sheltering in there for 12 hours or more, it would not have been very nice. So I think this room could have been used for the safer parts of the raids. A bit hard to say for sure, but the doorway was in place. What this room was last used for was as the City Valuers Bar. City Valuers, a very old institution, they occupied the upper floors of the Exchange and the basement, and they were so well established that they had their own bar in use until 1980. Could have been there during World War II, but it looks a bit more 1950s for it to me. You also may have noticed that impressive looking triple lock strong room door as you walked in. That is a valuer's strong room where documents relating to Bristol Council's property, its land, would have been kept. So, but yes, we'll begin in this room, which would have been the main room of the shelter, I guess. And from this point on, as I mentioned, you will see green metal glass doors, which date back to the 1940s. These would have been shut when the high explosive bombs began to fall on the streets above. You'll also notice 1940s brickwork here, called armour brickwork, adding further reinforcement to doorways and archways, but only really in this part of the basement. And you may recall me saying that we had a capacity of 200 people down here. And you're probably thinking, you're never going to fit 200 people in these two rooms. Well, if you look carefully, there seems to have been a doorway originally in this arch, which has been blocked up with newer brickwork, and also I think a room at the end may have been used as part of the shelter. Not too long ago, I brought a group of veterans down here on a private tour. Private tours, incidentally, are also available, as are vouchers. And after their tour, one of these veterans came up to me and said, "You never guess what? I have at home a photograph of my aunt in Bristol during World War II with Myrna Loy." Myrna was in the city. Turns out this guy's aunt was a member of the Tiller Girls, a famous dance troupe. The photo shows the Tiller Girls sailing from Bristol to Ireland with Myrna Loy. So the plot has thickened. This is relatively recent information. I have since sent 3 follow-up emails, one of which has been replied to. There's bags of potential to put together a wonderful exhibit telling Bristol's wartime story. And it will be great to establish a museum. However, it's interesting to introduce the shelter to the public as part of a tour, because it's a bit more conversational. And people have been coming forward almost every week. I had a lady earlier on today, with amazing personal first-hand stories or family stories relating to life in Bristol during the Blitz. And if you have any yourselves, let me know, because I've started an archive, a little one's gas mask. And you can understand the government thinking. If you're going to make a kid's gas mask, make it bright colours. Make it a little less intimidating. Whereas in fact, you have created the single most terrifying object you're ever going to see. Stuff of nightmares. Thankfully not needed in the end. And I've been saying that's the most terrifying object. Maybe I've got to change that line because this guy has recently arrived. And here we have the full baby's respirator. So the whole baby goes in there. It's a belt at the bottom to tighten it up. Pump on the side to give baby a dose of asbestos. Yeah. And I recently found an amazing Reese Winston photograph of these stacked up in their boxes in a church next to the font. This would be in Bristol somewhere. But what a juxtaposition, these. And that one's an antique, so I can't use that, but I can use this. I will just forewarn you, they're designed to be loud. Don't worry, it'll be closer to my ears than it is to yours. But luckily, this is not a sound we associate with the Blitz. But that would have rattled out had gas ever been dropped, which it was not. These most definitely were. Here we have a replica incendiary bomb. 12,000 of these devices began the raid on the 24th of November. And they were designed not to explode on impact, but to set on fire. The shell casing being made from magnesium. Muddy Waters, Van Morrison, Spencer Davis, Cream, them, the Birds, Cilla Black, Lulu, Sonny and Cher all sang Up Where the Traders Yeah, solid little lineup. But it's everyone you've basically heard of had a little stint at the exchange. So as we head back up, I'll just also throw in this diary entry from 1966, which records a Who gig upstairs at the Corn Exchange. And it really is quite something. It reads, "Went to see Who at Corn with Dina, Jill and Ginny. Fabby, Roger, fantastic. Roger was marvellous. Wore maroon woolly stuff."
It's really fascinating what they went through.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it definitely does bring it alive. Being
sure.
on here. Yeah.
Oh, hello Paul. Yeah, so I'm Nicola and my YouTube channel is called Nicola Explores. I'm from Bristol, so I have a lot of content about Bristol on the channel and the southwest of England, and I also cover Italy as well and other places in Europe.
Brilliant. Can I just ask what you thought of the tour we had today down here in the shelter?
Oh yeah, the tour is absolutely fantastic. Duncan is such a knowledgeable tour guide and he's really entertaining. He really brought the story of Bristol's Blitz to life, and it's a really powerful moment. I highly recommend that everyone comes along and does the tour.
Brilliant. Oh, that's thank you so much. Thanks very much, Nicola. Cheers. Thank you. Really
Yeah.
nice to meet you
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, and
Brilliant.
you.
Thank you. So I got somebody I'm sure nearly all of you will recognise. This is Louise. Hi, Louise.
Hello, Paul.
Well, we just had the tour, haven't we? What did you think of it?
Oh, it was really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was just, it really brought things to life, to reality. My grandparents lived through the war in Bristol, just on the outskirts in Abbottsley, and also my mum, she was a very young child at that time as well. And yeah, as I was just saying to Nicola just now, at that time they didn't know how everything was going to pan out. They didn't know how long the war was going to be or anything. And that just went through my mind, and just how it must have been down here, and how it must have felt. It was very, very fascinating.
That's brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's got such a really special atmosphere as well here, isn't it? Yeah, it's just something very special about it. With you even got like dust here from the and the trill, the hats and everything about it. So authentic, isn't it? Yeah. It's really authentic, yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much, Louise, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise you were still recording.
Yeah, sorry. Right. I've got Martin here, who I have spoken about on the channel. I've met before, but not done as a collab. Hi Martin, do you want to tell my viewers about my channel? About your channel?
Keep that in, Paul, that's an outtake. Yeah, my channel just is a mixture of walking, me having adventures, me trying out silly little things. I like to experiment sometimes with my editing and filming. So I do various things on my channel. I just enjoy filmmaking more than anything else, to be honest, and I'm happy to try new things.
What do you think of the tour today?
It was really different and really fascinating to think that all this is under the ground here by this market. I didn't have a clue it was there until about a year or so ago. I've been really looking forward to just seeing inside it, and there was so much paraphernalia from the past under there, posters. And what I liked as well is that the fact it was used for a 1960s music location, the upstairs bit as well. That was something I didn't know as well.
What are your next projects? What you've got coming up?
Oh, I filmed so many things and I don't get much chance to edit them, so I've got a backlog. But probably this is the next thing I will edit. I've got loads of things from the past year or so, and I've got lots of things I want to do in the future, places to explore. And I'm always looking on the internet for new places to go and trying to find something a bit different from the normal YouTube videos if I can.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Martin.
Thank
I'll
you.
put a link to Martin's channel and Nicola's and Louise's at the bottom. Thanks. Cheers. Well, that was amazing. We've all just said our goodbyes. We're heading off now. Brilliant collab there. I've thoroughly enjoyed looking down the air raid shelters here, and indeed looking around, just closing up the St Nicholas markets here in Corn Street in Bristol. Until next time on West Country Wanderings, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again soon. Oh, before I go, just to mention the links to everybody else's videos will be in the description. I'll add them as those videos get uploaded, and also a link to the website where you can book a tour here in the heart of old part of Bristol yourselves. Highly recommended. See you all soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.